to another Wednesday whiskey review from you boys, the Buffalo Happy Hour. Today, we got Maker's Mark 111 proof. It is their cask strength collection, and we're going to be trying this one on for size today. Michael, you got anything to say for the peeps?
I think the biggest thing about Maker's Mark is we haven't really reviewed a lot of it.
We've done one, right?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, our spreadsheet is linked in our bio, but
I haven't updated that since the Nixon administration. That's gone.
Should have said Carter.
Rip.
So, current events, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
The thing about Maker's Mark is it's really obviously well known for the dip, but their story initially is interesting because they kind of got off the ground, no pun intended, through airports and being used as the shooter option on the flight itself. So if you wanted to buy some type of liquor on a flight, you would buy the small shooter. And what that led to is a lot of the passengers on the plane were not located on a plane in South Korea. And another current event, hot take. I'm full of them today. I apologize, but there were 2 survivors, so
that's good.
All is well. Watch out for the birds. So after the flight landed, they got off and went straight to the the duty free basically within the airport, and they're like, we need that little red bottle. Do you have a full size of it? And that's kind of how the brand got off the ground. So now it's pretty much a mainstay at anyone's bar, whether they own their own bar and it's a full-on business, or the bar in their basement or their house if it's on a different floor, but it's everywhere. So having the cask strength is just kind of a nice option. It's a 111 proof, wasn't super expensive, and it being reasonably priced, it just kind of drew you to it just because this wasn't even $60 in New York State.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah, so it's just nice to have a higher proof option, whether it's for cocktails or just to drink it neat like we will today.
So you mentioned the wax. The wife actually came up with that. Did you like the wife? She's a marketing genius behind the brand, I guess you could say. But she came up with the bottle shape and the wax, and she's also known as like the founder of the bourbon tourism industry. So she kind of did a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't beat it.
I mean, name something on a whiskey bottle that's more iconic than the Maker's Mark wax.
The cork itself, the fact that the bottle has a cork within the industry.
Seriously.
I mean, you have to go that broad.
Yeah.
It's kind of really hard to narrow it down.
And if somebody tries to wax their own bottle, it's like, you really can't.
Correct. So
And I like that they include a little pull tab there.
they help you out.
Yeah.
So we'll start with label branding. For those that are new, we do label branding, initial taste, any note, final rating, and then another fun segment, would you have it in your collection? So we'll start with label branding. Derek, what do you have on this?
I'm going to go A++. It's an iconic brand. I will say they don't really change their bottle much when you go from expression to expression. Not saying that that's a knock on the label branding, but I would say that that's kind of one of the things that if you see Maker's Mark on the shelf, you know what it is. So it's an iconic brand, but it's not like they haven't changed anything since they first initially came to like be.
That, and at the same time, if you're at a liquor store, I actually just ran into this. A friend of mine asked, what should I get my father-in-law for Christmas? And it's kind of, I mean, I'm sure you got 30 of the same texts. So it's a great text to get, but it also makes it kind of difficult because it always starts with, okay, what's the price range and what does that person actually like to drink? And then you kind of guide it from there. But with Makers, because they don't have any difference at all, you're really leaning on the label to tell you what the hell's inside the bottle. And it makes it difficult because if it is a single barrel, if it is something special, they really almost don't have any packaging except for like one SKU that has its own packaging. But other than that, it's really difficult to differentiate itself. So, it's easy to find the red wax seal and then read the labels, and then I can kind of guide you from there because he ended up going with this. But at the same time, it does make it difficult to your point. So I do agree an A++ makes sense.
I will say, just a side note, if you are ever looking to get somebody a bottle, go single barrel. Like Maker's Mark single barrel, cask strength, like something like that shows that you actually put some time into looking for something, and it's generally like always available.
Well, the other thing too is if it's a larger store, go with a store pick.
Yeah.
A store pick single barrel is always the move, just because you're gonna be getting something that is basically a one of one.
Yeah.
So just food for thought.
So this mash bill of this is 70 corn, 16 wheat, and 14 barley.
Yeah, it's pretty
Just
standard.
so you know.
Pretty standard. So we're drinking the entire bottle as we record right now.
Yes,
So by the end of this review, we'll see how it goes. Just kidding.
The wax is a little difficult to pull.
There it is.
It's an alpha thing to do, you know? I
They
rubber.
do have a real cork. So we'll start with a pour, and then we'll dive into the nose. What do you think of the color, Derek?
I mean, she dark. This is at least like around 6 years. A 6-year age statement on this bad boy. So it's pretty dark. I mean, what we know about the color is for bourbon, you can't have it be a different, you can't add coloring to it. So this is au naturel, as they like to say. It is a pretty dark, almost like a copper penny type
Got some
look.
legs on it.
Yeah, it's a little thick and viscous, as they call it in the industry. But yeah, it's pretty clear, but it definitely has that like copper penny, almost a little bit lighter, more of a gold color to it. So it looks inviting.
Yes, and we also have our Dram Diaries, which we should give a quick shout out to. So our Dram Diaries are great. You can actually buy them. Again, link is in our bio if you wanted to get your own and fill it out. Greg made this Dram Diary. He's always looking for different recommendations on how to make it better, but he provided this for us in this awesome binder as well. Binder sold separately, but if you did want to get the actual pages, feel free to jump into the link in our bio and grab your own Dram Diary, which kind of fills out the entire tasting profile for you. So it's just kind of a plug and play, but it's a great basis.
They kind of guide you through to like understand what you should be looking for too, because there's some little hints in here that say, okay, maybe something that you can pick up is smoky or sulfury or woody or vanilla. So it does help your tasting experience too. So definitely get something like that if you're into whiskey and you plan on having it and enjoying it more than just a Saturday night drink.
Sure. On the nose, what are you picking up?
Very sweet, actually. Considering it's a Kentucky whiskey, you're getting those vanilla caramels, also some sort of like butter note to it too.
I'm really not getting a whole lot though. It
no.
doesn't punch you in the face.
Yeah, no, it's pretty traditional with that underlying sweetness of the butter.
Would you go B on this nose?
Yeah, I'd probably go B. That sounds fair. I agree.
I agree. Initial taste? It's fairly hot.
Yeah, I will say you don't smell the heat on the nose.
No,
The heat on the taste really comes into play.
it's viscous.
I feel like it pokes your tongue in every angle a little bit. Like sometimes when you get higher proof whiskeys, you'll taste it a little bit on the tip of your tongue. But this one is kind of, I'm feeling it on the sides of my tongue, which you normally associate with a sour note.
Yeah.
But I'm not really getting sour with this.
No, it's a very all-encompassing juice on the palate. Mm-hmm. It's really the only way I can say it. It makes you salivate.
Taste though,
Not
vanilla, caramel,
Yeah.
wood sugars, oak. That splintered wood that I say. Just very traditional Kentucky, but with an underlying, like, we'll get to it in the ending note, but it changes a little bit in the ending note, but not too much.
Even though this is a high corn, this would make a really good Manhattan. It'd probably make a better old fashioned though.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but very traditional caramel, butter, vanilla.
Yeah. The ending note, I'm not getting a whole lot of. It seems fairly one-dimensional, where it dissipates quickly. The initial taste is very empowering, so it just kind of it's almost like there's it leaves you wanting more from an ending note perspective. Meaning, I want it to be more dimensional because it's not. I feel like it's very front forward.
It is. It kind of changes a little bit into like a butterscotch or a caramel. Like a Werther's caramel on the back end, where it gets the caramelized wood sugars come out a little bit. So that sweetness, that maybe a little brown sugar on the back end, that's where I feel like if I'm really digging for something, that's what I'm going with. But you're right, it is definitely more, I would say middle palate, right? Like, because the initial palate is really spicy a little bit. It kind of coats your tongue with that prickliness.
Yeah.
And then it's really more in that middle tongue that you're getting a lot of those flavors.
Where would you rate the initial taste though? I'm like a B minus.
Yeah, I think B minus is pretty fair. I think that it's very traditional Kentucky. Right now with makers, with this bottle, you're really going hard with it's a higher proof.
I agree.
Like they're not changing a ton of flavors with it. They're really going, let's up the proof a little bit and see if that impacts anything.
Yeah, I agree. The ending note for me, I'm a C plus. I don't really think it's got anything to rag home about. But I'm gonna go C plus on the ending note. It's a. We'll touch on it. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably C plus is fair. I would even maybe go up to like a B minus, just because that brown sugar is pretty sweet and it is a little exciting.
C plus check.
But yeah, C plus check.
I agree,
It's one of those that you got to dig for it to get past kind of those traditional notes and some of that proof point. But once you do, it is a